Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're venturing into, a pretty unsettling place. Aldous Huxley's Brave New World. We're focusing on some key early excerpts.
That's right. We're going deep into how this whole society is set up.
Mm.
The hatchery, the conditioning center, all those core mechanisms of control.
Yeah, like the Bokanovsky group idea. That's wild.
Yeah.
How they start conditioning people, well, before they're even really people.
Exactly. It's all there in these early chapters. We see how they engineer individuals right from the start, literally.
And we meet some key players, like the director of the DHC and Mr. Foster, who seems very keen on the details.
Very keen. He guides these students through it all. And we also get our first look at Lenina Crown and Bernard Marx, who, well, they seem a bit different from each other, hinting at maybe some cracks.
Maybe. So, for you listening, our mission here is really to get under the hood of this society. How does the artificial reproduction work? The social destiny stuff, the conditioning.
We're trying to pull out those moments, those aha insights for you about how this kind of total social engineering might actually function.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's quite something.
Okay, let's dive in. First up, this whole artificial reproduction system. Mr. Foster, he's almost bubbling with excitement talking about egg fertilization stats.
He really is. It's quite jarring, actually. He's rattling off these huge numbers, 16,000 from one ovary at their center.
And comparing it to Singapore and Mombasa like it's some kind of production quota competition.
Exactly. It completely reframes human life as, well, an industrial output. The pride isn't in life itself, but in the efficiency of the process. That competitive angle really says a lot.
And the details inside the bottling room.
Yeah.
It's very clinical. So is peritoneum lining bottles.
Uh-huh. And the petriculators carefully moving the eggs, adding saline. Right. It's all very systematic, very controlled.
Then the labeling, heredity, date, and Bokanovsky group. Right there. That's the start of it, isn't it? The categorization.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That label is step one in defining them not as individuals, but as part of a batch, a caste. The Bokanovsky group is fundamental to that.
Yeah, explain that a bit more. Foster seems so proud of creating dozens of identical humans from one egg.
It's basically cloning on an industrial scale. One egg is stimulated to bud, creating up to 96 identical embryos. 96.
Wow.
And Foster's pride is all about the efficiency, the scale. It's the ultimate tool for social stability, he implies. You get large groups of identical workers, perfectly suited for identical tasks. Individuality is literally engineered out.
So they become interchangeable parts.
Precisely. And then there's the nurturing inside the bottles. It's not just passive, it's highly managed. Blood surrogate, timed injections.
Placentin, thyroxine, corpus luteum extract.
Why?
All automated.
Right. It's a completely artificial, regulated environment designed to produce a predictable outcome.
And the tech gets even more complex with the artificial maternal circulation system later on. Pumps, synthetic lungs, filters.
It shows the total replacement of biology with technology. They've thought of everything, even down to tackling potential anemia with hog stomach and foal's liver extracts.
It's incredibly detailed intervention. They're not just growing embryos, they're manufacturing them to spec.
And that leads to this idea of controlled fertility, which is kind of chilling. Foster just casually calls high fertility a nuisance.
A nuisance. And their target is just one fertile ovary for every 1,200 embryos made artificially.
Yeah. It underlines the state's absolute control. Natural reproduction is almost entirely sidelined. They decide who gets to reproduce, and it's a tiny fraction.
Which brings us to the free martins.
Ah, yes. Most female embryos get male hormones. Why? To make them sterile.
Foster admits they might get, a slight beard, but brushes it off. It's about moving beyond the slavish imitation of nature.
And that phrase is key. They're not just copying nature, they're actively redesigning it to fit their social model. Sterility removes potential conflicts like maternal instincts that might disrupt social conditioning.
So these manufactured humans are then immediately slotted into their roles. That's the next big piece. Social predestination.
Exactly. Foster says it outright. They decant babies as socialized human beings, as alphas or epsilons, future directors or future sewage workers, decided right there in the bottle.
And the director backs this up, saying the secret to happiness is liking what you've got to do.
It's conditioning people to accept, even love, their predetermined place. No upward mobility, no choice, just acceptance engineered from the start. Alphas for brain work, epsilons for simple labor, and everyone conditioned accordingly.
We see it with Leninist job too, right? Inoculating embryos destined for the tropics against tropical diseases while they still have gills.
Yet tailoring them biologically for their future jobs before they're even born, it just hammers home the lack of autonomy. Your life path is set biologically and geographically from the
Yeah.
very beginning.
And then comes the reinforcement, the psychological conditioning, the
Yeah.
infant nurseries, neo-Pavlovian conditioning.
Right. And that example with the Delta babies is, it's pretty brutal.
Mm. Flowers and books, then bam, loud noises, electric shocks.
It's pure classical conditioning. Create an aversion. Pair something potentially nice, like a flower, or something potentially mind-opening, like a book, with fear and pain.
And the director's proud of it, safe from books and botany all their lives.
It's about deliberately limiting their world, ensuring they stick to their assigned functions without getting any inconvenient ideas. Keeps the lower castes focused on their manual work, keeps them compliant.
And the conditioning extends to consumption too, doesn't it? Hating the country, but loving country sports.
That need expensive gear and travel. Yes, even leisure is engineered to fuel the economy. Again, electric shocks are part of instilling these preferences. Avoid nature, embrace consumption.
It's woven right in. Then there's the sleep teaching, hypnopedia.
Focused on moral education, but as the director stresses, it must never be rational.
Just pure suggestion, repeated over and over while they sleep.
Exactly. It bypasses critical thinking entirely. These slogans and beliefs get embedded deep in the subconscious, shaping desires, values, everything. And it all comes directly from the state. Total mind control, essentially.
Even their playtime isn't free. The director dislikes simple games.
Right, because they don't require buying things. He pushes centrifugal bumble puppy because it needs manufactured apparatus.
Everything circles back to consumption and control.
Everything. It shows how deeply this economic ideology permeates every aspect of life, even childhood.
What about the discussion on erotic play among the children? That seems quite radical.
It does from our perspective, yeah. But in their world, it's normal, even encouraged. The students are shocked that it was ever forbidden before our Ford.
So why encourage it?
It seems to serve a couple of functions. One, it normalizes sex early on, stripping it of intense emotion or exclusivity. Two, it prevents strong, potentially disruptive pair bonds from forming later in life. It keeps relationships shallow and interchangeable, which serves stability.
Ah, okay. It fits with the controller's idea that history is bunk. Erase the past, erase alternatives.
Precisely. If you don't know things could be different, you're less likely to question the way things are. It reinforces their system as the only and therefore the best way.
We see Lenina again later, working in the bottling room, talking with Fanny. And the way they talk, it's so casual about all this tech and biology.
It absolutely is. Terms like corpus luteum are just part of their everyday chat. It shows how completely normalized this whole artificial engineered system is. Biology has become just another industrial process for them.
And Lenina herself seems influenced by the hypnopedia, right? I do love flying. Ending is better than mending.
Definitely. Those ingrained phrases pop up naturally in her thoughts and speech. They guide her preferences like choosing flight, a mode of transport, or discarding things instead of fixing them, which fuels consumerism.
And this links to the wider societal aversion to strong feelings, or having to wait for things. The controller mentions ancestors rejecting reformers who wanted to get rid of unpleasant emotions.
Yes. The implication is that this society chose superficial, constant gratification over the messiness and potential pain of deep emotions. Stability and shallow contentment are prioritized above all else.
Why? Because strong emotions are destabilizing.
That seems to be the logic. Intense love, grief, anger, these can lead to unpredictable behavior, conflict, questioning the system. So they engineer them out, aiming for a placid, easily managed populace.
Okay, so wrapping up this first part of our dive. For you, the learner, we've really unpacked the foundations here, this industrial-scale artificial reproduction.
The rigid caste system locked in from before birth, and this really powerful psychological conditioning, both the Pavlovian stuff and the sleep teaching. It's all designed for stability and, well, consumption.
The aha moments for me are just the sheer audacity of the control. Manufacturing people like products, deliberately creating hierarchies, and then using psychology to make everyone supposedly happy with their lot.
It's chillingly efficient, the way it's presented. That complete manipulation from conception onwards to ensure everyone fits neatly into the machine.
Which leaves us with that provocative thought for you to mull over. What are the real-world implications of this kind of total control? How much are our own societies shaped, maybe more subtly, by similar forces influencing what we desire or believe?
Yeah, and what's the trade-off? Stability versus genuine freedom or authentic emotion? Where do you see echoes of this brave new world today in our technology, our social structures, maybe even in how we think about happiness or human nature?
Lots to think about there. We hope this deep dive has given you some valuable perspectives.